You tweet me directly at Maagit Nawaz. And let's go to Andy, who's been waiting patiently from Brecon in Wales. Speak to us, Andy.
Hi, how are you doing?
Welcome.
So I'd like to raise an issue that really goes back to the heart of the debate, which is really around in or out, which relates to the Lisbon Treaty. And I think this is a really important issue at this particular juncture in time, because it brings to light why we've got so much extreme behaviour taking place in Parliament at the moment.
Okay.
I think there's a massive level of dishonesty from all sides of the House in our Parliament today, and all politicians. They're still not being totally truthful about their reasons for their actions, and I think that's a huge problem in our politics today.
So, Andy, what do you think should happen next then?
So my personal view is that we will have a general election. I think we should have a general election. And I think that despite the fact that general elections are not fought on single issues, it will be a single issue election because of the narrative that's taking place.
Why do you think we should have a general election and not a second referendum?
Well, I think a second referendum is divisive, and it basically means you've got the wrong answer, do it again. I don't think the British people are
it doesn't, Andy.
It
doesn't, does it? It doesn't mean you've got the wrong answer, do it again. It means now we've got three options. We now understand what the consequences of Brexit are, and we tried to deliver the result in the first one. For 3.5 years we've been trying. We couldn't do it because we didn't know what Brexit should look like. Now we have a clearer vision as to what Brexit could look like, either through Theresa May's deal or no deal. Let's choose. Let's decide what we want to do.
So you still haven't had a proper argument about what staying in the EU looks like in a post-2020 world?
Well, staying in the EU means we have a veto on anything that changes, so that question doesn't matter.
No, that's not true. The veto has been suspended while they're going through the Brexit process.
As I just said, staying in the EU, Andy, means we have a veto. So that question will no longer matter because we can choose what the EU looks like. If we don't like something, we veto it.
Well, in the Lisbon Treaty, it says that every 2 years, all of the members of the EU Union will align and attempt to adopt the euro.
Yeah, but we have a special exemption, Andy. There is nothing on the agenda right now that Britain will adopt the euro.
No, it's already in law.
No, it's not. Maastricht. No, Andy, you're wrong. You're simply wrong. Maastricht exempted us from that. We do not have to adopt the euro, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing on the agenda that states Britain should adopt the euro. That's literally fake news, Andy.
It's not fake news.
It is fake news.
You can read it. You can download it on the government website.
Mate, don't tell me to Google something. It's fake news. There is nothing on the agenda that says we have to adopt the euro.
It was enacted by David Miliband.
What was enacted?
The British version of the Lisbon Treaty enacted in UK law.
Sorry, what are you saying we're obliged to do right now?
So what I'm saying to you is when we get to 2020, and this is why the October the 31st date is so very important, because if you go beyond Christmas, the acts that are represented within the Lisbon Treaty start to take place inside the European Union members. And those articles define the things that will happen. One of those things is the fact that the euro will be reviewed through monetary alignment on every 24-month basis.
Yeah, reviewed, Andy. Reviewed isn't obliging us to do anything, right? What's the second thing?
No, listen. The second thing that will happen is funding from the UK will start to be delivered into a European defence force.
Andy, so let's stick to the euro for a minute. You're changing the subject. There is Andy. Reviewing it every 2 years to see if our economy is aligned with the eurozone's economy isn't the same thing as saying we're obliged to adopt the euro. I'll tell you specifically the legal effect of the treaty, or the other way around. The treaty that has legal effect that exempts us from the euro. I'll give you the specific citation, and I'd like you to respond with a specific citation that says the opposite. Agreed?
Bear with me, Tom.
Agreed, Andy?
Yeah, I'll try my very best.
All right. Okay, so in 1992, the Maastricht Treaty provided an exemption for this country that means we don't have to join the euro. Right? It's the Maastricht Treaty from 1992. Esther McVeigh tweeted, MP, she tweeted a fake news piece of headline that she has since deleted, which I suspect is the basis of your rumour. She since deleted that tweet.
UK government website.
No, but Andy, I need a specific piece of law that says we're obliged to adopt the euro, because I've just provided you a specific treaty that exempts us from this.
If you give me 30 seconds while you're on the phone, I will get you the specific article.
The law.
Yeah,
Not review our economy to see how we're faring against the Eurozone. You made a specific claim that I'm questioning. We are not, and there is nothing on the table right now that will even suggest we will be. We are not obliged to adopt the euro, and we won't be in the foreseeable future.
Let me just give you an article to work with. So Article 3 in the Lisbon Treaty.
And what about it?
So Article 3 in the Lisbon Treaty says the Union shall establish an economic monetary union whose currency is the euro.
Of course it does, Andy. And I've just told you that the 1992 Maastricht Treaty exempts us from that.
And what date was the 1990? What date was the Lisbon Treaty enacted?
Andy, it doesn't matter. We're already exempted. We are already exempted, and this country has a veto on anything that changes that. So you're arguing something that isn't true, and I need you to accept it's fake news, because we have legal force for the Maastricht Treaty that exempts this country from joining the euro, and the ever closer union thing that you're worried about, which is true, by the way. The EU, according to Lisbon, its intentions are to move to an ever closer union. That's not wrong. You're not wrong there, right? But we have an exemption from the Eurozone thing, and we have a veto. So if they ever try and force us to join that, unless we choose to join it, we don't have to. We're exempted from it. Can you at least accept that, Andy?
I can't accept that we're exempted to it, given where we are in the current negotiations and given what we're currently doing.
You're denying reality, Andy. You are simply doing what Corbyn does. What Corbyn does on the one end and Trump does on the other end. You're preferring your ideological dogma over reality. I've just cited a specific treaty for you that tells you we're exempted from it, and you know we have a veto. The only reason the veto's suspended is while we're doing the Brexit negotiations. But if we're staying in the EU, Andy, we have a veto, don't we?
Do you see the potential risk, though?
No, Andy, before you ask me any further questions, you've got to accept that you've just peddled fake news.
No, that's not true.
Okay, well, you're on live radio, Andy. Seriously. You've got to accept that you cited a general clause from Article 3 of the Lisbon Treaty that argues that member states will move to an ever closer union, but a specific exemption applies to the United Kingdom according to the Maastricht Treaty, and we have a veto if we stay in the EU, so nobody can force us to overrule that specific exemption. Can you accept that, Andy?
Well, what I can't accept is that you're quoting Maastricht, which is 1990s, and the Lisbon was delivered in 2007.
Yes, and one is general, one is specific. Andy, one is general, one is specific. The Maastricht exemption is a specific exemption that applies to the UK. So even if the Lisbon Treaty came afterwards and used general language, already in UK law is the Maastricht exemption. And so nobody can change our law for us, can they?
So how do you feel about British funding being used to establish a European army?
You're changing the subject. I need you to first of all accept that you're peddling fake news when you say that we are obliged to adopt the euro.
At the 1st of January 2020.
What's the 1st of January?
October is important.
Sorry, that's what happens when you talk over a question I'm posing to you. I don't understand what you're saying is the 1st of January.
What we're talking about at the moment is the 1st of January is when the Lisbon Treaty comes into law, when it's enacted. All the articles start to operate.
Yeah, and we're not obliged to join the Eurozone. Nobody out there, including the one person that tweeted it and then deleted their tweet, Esther McVeigh, nobody out there who has either works and practices in law like a judge or even a Brexiter politician in Parliament or anybody from the European side, nobody is claiming that we are obliged to join the euro, apart from Esther McVeigh, who deleted her tweet, and now you, Andy, on air.
Do you admit that the Lisbon Treaty has precedence over the Maastricht Treaty by the fact of its date?
Andy, you know what this is, Andy? This is, first of all, no, to answer your question, but to comment on the answer, this is amateur. What you're engaging in right now is amateur constitutional analysis. Are you in any way a legal expert or have you studied law, or is there anything that you can rely on to come to this conclusion that Britain is obliged to join the Eurozone if we stay in the EU?
I've downloaded the Lisbon Treaty. And
in other words, you read the internet?
No, I've downloaded the Lisbon Treaty from the UK government website.
The Lisbon Treaty that you're interpreting it, right?
I'm reading it.
Yeah, you're reading it. Has anyone out there who's a constitutional expert argued that we will be obliged to join the Eurozone based on the Lisbon Treaty?
Well, I believe that even Nigel Farage has suggested that.
Why do you think Esther McVeigh deleted her tweet? And I said constitutional expert. Nigel Farage is the leader of a political party. He's not a constitutional expert.
So there are a whole range of things that happen as of the 1st of January 2020. Do you agree with that?
Well, there is a whole range of things. Of course, I agree with that, because a treaty comes into effect, Andy. But Andy,
changes in the Lisbon Treaty.
Andy, look. This is we're running out of time, right? And this is not getting anywhere. You are seriously arguing against reality here in this case, because we have a veto if we stay members of the EU, will we keep our veto?
The veto doesn't exist in the current climate.
That's because we're negotiating a leave, right? So if you're worried about us joining the Eurozone, then by definition we'll be in the EU. And so if we're in the EU, we'll have a veto.
Parliament.
Andy, will we have a veto if we are members of the EU? As a member state, do member states have vetoes?
Some do, yes.
No, but will we?
Not in the current payment, no. So,
no, Andy, this is completely disingenuous. If we're full members of the EU and not negotiating a Brexit, in other words, before the referendum, did we have a veto?
Before the referendum, we had a veto. Yes.
Why did we have a veto before the referendum?
Because we could.
Because we're a member state, yeah?
We were a member, we negotiated it.
Right. So, for those 2 points, the fact that we have a veto if we're not trying to leave the EU, right? And the fact that the Maastricht Treaty exempts us from joining the Eurozone, can you not see how your argument that we're going to join the Eurozone falls apart?
My reading is that the Lisbon Treaty has some elements within it that will happen regardless. You're not telling me that the Lisbon Treaty has no bearing on UK law, because it's written there that it is.
Andy, I don't know what to do with that. You see, we've just gone round and round in circles and arguing till I'm blue in the face with somebody that simply doesn't understand law nor the Constitution and is peddling fake news and cannot admit it. Andy, I've just told you Esther McVeigh even deleted that tweet, and you're still persisting in peddling fake news against reality. We have an exemption from joining the Eurozone, and we have a veto if we don't Brexit in the EU. We have a veto as a member state. Who is going to force us to join the Eurozone with an exemption and a veto? It's just fake news, and it's seriously, on all sides, whether you're a Remainer or a Brexiter, can we all stop being so ideological and just accept reality when it's presented to us? It's the danger here, whether it's Corbyn or Johnson or anyone else that's consumed by ideology, is like the blinkers on a horse, that you cannot see reality. You can only see the political narrative that suits the agenda you want to push. And when reality contradicts that political narrative, you end up looking really silly because you can't concede to reality, but you have to instead adhere to certain fixed talking points to keep pushing that agenda. And that's when people smell an ideologue. And when people smell an ideologue, they become scared because they know what ideologues go on to do. Ideologues go on to do terrible things in the name of a greater good, because the ideology is their greater good. And when reality stands in their way, they try and obliterate reality because they're still pursuing the quote-unquote greater good of the ideology. And that's when you end up with purges and so on and so forth. You're listening to Maagit Nawaz here on LBC, and the time now is 1:18.
LBC. Sheila Fogarty, Monday to Friday from 1 p.m.
And I hear you.